Yeah. The one slogan I had, and I used it more about 20 years ago, was to people I'd say, take a picture before it's gone. This was after I realized what happened here around the north side, and things disappeared pretty quickly.
Gandy with the Allegheny City Historic Gallery, and I'm standing here in front of the old Masonic building and the Garden Theater, which they're renovating right now, with Bob Rathke, and he took a lot of photos back in the day from Pittsburgh and Allegheny City, and he has a wealth of historic knowledge, so we're here talking to him today, and I'm going to find out everything he knows, and we're going to show some of the images.
My uncle was the family photographer in the 30s. After World War II, he came back home. After he was married, my mother took over as photographer for the family. Took thousands of photos, and then in 1950 I started to photograph mostly family, our neighborhood up on Spring Hill. Only a few down here in the north side at that time. In the 1960s, when I realized things were changing here, buildings were starting to be torn down, Allegheny Center was going up, the streetcars were disappearing, I really got active, and by that time I was taking color slides. The number of my photos, I have well over 100,000 that I've taken myself. Visiting the place to go for dinner or for lunch outside the hospital was the Y. And I'm looking, I don't know if that building's still here or not. But that
it's
was
down that way.
Down in that area, yeah. Okay, on those Saturday night shopping trips, we often would go down to West Park in the summer. And they're in the band shell. The city had local bands playing in the evening. And then, the kids would only sit there so long and then would be running around the park, and the adults would be in the benches in front of the band shell. That was just outside the aviary. Grandparents referred to Lake Elizabeth when I was small, so that was there in the early 1900s as a place to go. This whole area, the hospital was formerly Presbyterian Hospital, became Divine Providence in 1955. So that's an old building that's been there for a long time, as has the aviary.
So do you think Allegheny Center was a good idea, or do you think it was better when the Market House was there before the mall?
I don't think the Allegheny Center was a good idea at all. In fact, I worked with people that came over when it opened, and they were really underwhelmed by what they saw when they got in there. They said, this is not going to last. The Market House was great. Besides all those stands, the fish and the meat market and produce, the two corners, the corner on Federal and East Ohio Street was Heights Drug, and the southern corner was Ray's Bakery. And those two places were enclosed. They were air conditioned. So again, you had those Market House smells in the main market, and it was not air conditioned, but the two corners were, and they were kind of an oasis.
So would you say the Market House was more for entrepreneurs and small businessmen to go in and try to make a living for their families?
Oh, yeah.
And when the mall came along, it was more commercialized and corporate?
I heard from someone on the East Street Valley website about a month ago, because I commented on one of the stands. There was a poultry stand in there. We called it Dole's. It might have been pronounced Doll, and she said that was from her family, although she didn't know the Market House when that stand was there. But they were all independents. It was all open stands. There was a florist in the middle with the high waterfall fountain behind it, and then there was a bookseller there, Olga Snyder, and his kids would buy inexpensive used books there.
So what about this area here? I know there was some, we know the Garden Theater. People still see some of that still existing, that they're changing right now, by the way. And then we had a Kenyon Theater right down here on, was it the corner of
Federal and, what was that, Montgomery? It was the street here
Federal
behind the hospital that ran straight through. It was
so
near
right
that
in the
corner.
middle here where the field is where it would be. Is
Yeah.
that right?
And there was a car dealer here. Pankoff Ford was, it's hard to imagine where it was, but it was in that area too. My dad bought a car there.
Wow, so we had all types of businesses. I mean, it's really incredible. When I'm down here now, I feel like I'm just missing out.
Yeah, it's changed. Opposite, I mentioned the Market House and Ray's Bakery. On the other corner facing Sears, kind of in the back there behind the Crories, was the Stop and Shop supermarket. And I think that was one of the first supermarkets in the late 40s. Very small by today's comparison, but they had frozen vegetables and fruit, which we had never seen before. You know, the local stores.
No,
didn't
is that
carry
where the planetarium is?
No, that was down by the old Sears building.
Oh, okay.
Between Sandusky and Federal, just down the street from Boggs.
On the
You
other-
have to look
on
at
the
a
other
map
side of the
to,
Market
yeah,
House.
on the south side of it.
Okay, I see.
And there was
Well-
that building, there was a bank building that I think was 8 or 9 stories. A lot of doctors and dentists, lawyers in that building. I mean, it was really well maintained.
Okay, so you also did some photos for the Pirates back in the day. And so can you tell me about that? Did you get to meet any of the coaches and the players? And what about the stadium?
Boy, I don't remember meeting the coaches, but I remember being at Forbes Field in the 1950s, and I took photographs there. Went back later after the field was gone, but the foul line and the outfield wall, you know, is still there. And you can still picture, they kept enough that you can still picture what it was like at Forbes Field. But at Three Rivers Stadium, at Steelers games, I took some pictures, just, you know, kind of snapshots from the stands. And one of the best I think I got was the Pirates in 1979 World Series. When the team, I'm sorry, I was there in 79 and 71, and the team was lined up on first base, the 9 players, and the player on the end was Roberto Clemente, and I got a photograph of them, so I like that photo too.
I would love to see that. That's a really important part of Pittsburgh history.
Some of my photographs appeared on the Post-Gazette blog, Seth Rohrbach's. And then as a result of that, I was contacted by Fox Sports to provide other pictures for a tribute they were doing to the closing of the arena in 2000. They were doing it in 2009, and then that led to my photographs appearing in the Trib book called Inside the Igloo on the closing of the arena. I was there for the first Hornets game in 1961. I have a photograph I took inside the arena for that. That was one of the photos that was on the Fox Sports interview.
This is Bill Gandy from the Allegheny City Historic Gallery, and I'm standing here with 2 photo legends from the Northside. We got Betty Musher and Bob Rathke together. So you make sure you come to our page and check out all the photos that they have, and check out East Street Valley, where they both have photos on that page also. So make sure you come out to the Allegheny City Historic Gallery once we get it open, and you can see all the images of the past. I mean, streetcars, the mall, before the mall, it just doesn't stop. These 2 rock stars.